Welcome to Managing Your Perimeter. I am Anna Reel, and along with PJ O'Neill, who I think is in Colorado Springs. PJ, is that where you are this time? Where are you?
I am in Colorado Springs. I just got here today and I'm in the hotel lobby because my room's not ready.
That's all right.
Hmm.
We're okay with
So
your background. We
may
will.
get interrupted by various people that are here advancing the Air Force Academy commencement.
Oh, that's really exciting. By the time we air this, then we'll already be shown. So that's really
Yep.
exciting. Good job. Good job. Yep. I'm still sitting in Florida right now. Probably gonna make my way to Nashville soon because it's definitely the weather is starting to change, but that's okay. We'll make it work here. So managing your perimeter. Today we're gonna talk about its insider threats, clearance culture, and the future of personnel security. So we have a really important conversation today. It's around leadership, behavior, and what it actually takes to build systems that work in the real world. Joining us is Dr. Jazma Parker. She brings
Hi.
a deep she brings a deep background in behavior science and leadership with a focus on how organizations translate intention into action. But first, I want to congratulate you for being named to the Women in Security Power 100. That is a
Thank
global
you.
recognition honoring 100 women who are helping shape the future of security industry through leadership, innovation, and mentorship. It was an honor to see your name next to mine on that list.
Thank you.
So it's very, very exciting. So, Dr. Parker, welcome to the show. Introduce yourself.
Thank
Tell us about you, and then we'll just get into what you're doing. It's a very casual conversation. Please jump in, interrupt us, do what you need to do. But welcome to our show.
thank you. Yes, I'm Dr. Jazma Parker. I am the Security Director and Facility Security Officer for Digiflight Incorporated, headquartered out of Columbia, Maryland. I've been with the company 6.5 years. It'll be 7 in October.
Well, what drew you to get into this industry? Like, where did it all start? Why this?
So it initially started after college. I applied to become a background investigator retained by the U.S. Office of Personnel Management. So OPM is the human resources of the government. Started there as a background investigator for about 2.5 years, and then transitioned over to the adjudications side of it within the re-investigations unit at the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Oh, wow.
And then from there, I took on a position assisting the U.S. Army Special Forces 7th Group out of Tampa, Florida, assisting with tactical skiff accreditations and management. And I did that on the Special Forces side for about 3.5 years. And then the last 3 years of that time in Afghanistan, I transitioned over to the conventional side of the Army, assisting with intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions. So anything dealing with intelligence,
Mhm.
uh, communication security in that realm. And then after that portion, I transitioned over to the industrial security side for corporate security. So,
Wow.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
I was going to say, you didn't come across either of our names at any point, did you?
no, it does not ring a bell. No,
I think she was long gone before we got in this.
Yeah.
yeah, no, not at all. Yeah.
So what do you think in terms of perspective that you gained moving from part of the government in the government side of this into the private sector that you didn't have before?
So it's important to note that, and I think a lot of people tend to think that I have always been a DoD civilian or just a government employee. I've never wanted to. I've thought about transition over to the government side as a civilian employee, but I've just enjoyed being a contractor, having a little bit more flexibility in my movements.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why I've been for the duration of my career
Nice.
as
Oh,
a contractor. Yeah,
that's definitely a different then. That's definitely different from
it's
actually,
different.
you
Yeah,
know, actual employee, as
yeah,
opposed to a contractor for sure.
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
I've always supported the government um, as a- as a contractor, and so in this instance, what I'm doing now is managing all of the security programs for the classified efforts that my company has. So yeah,
Very nice. Very
so
yeah.
nice.
do you work with government? Did I miss that? Do you work with government contractors that?
So I'm technically considered a government contractor.
Okay.
So say for example, one of our biggest um, government clients would be the Department of the Army. We've got a big presence in Huntsville, Alabama. So there's several organizational units within Huntsville that we have contracts for. So we're how can I so they're our customer and we provide a service to them.
Sure. Totally get it.
Yeah.
We get that.
Yeah.
That for sure.
Hmm. Yeah.
What the thing that struck me by looking at some of your materials and your background and kind of some focuses of yours are is the whole insider threat. Is that like within a corporate? Is that within a community? Is that within um, the country as a whole? Is it does it encompass all of that, or are you a little more laser focused?
All of it. All of it because, we've had insider threat problems or concerns on the contractor side. You've got contractors that are embedded within these federal organizations. Say, for example, the NSA. You've got them, of course, with the DOJ, and of course that mixture in with civilian employees within these organizations. So it's just not limited to industrial security. Um, it kind of runs the gamut across the spectrum, in
But
general. So
but
yeah.
when you say insider threat, how do you define that? What is that? Like, is it, Joe Bag of Donuts had a bad day? Or is it like someone's been building resentment for a while? How does it manifest? How do you find it?
Well, it's not one of those things that you would consider to be an isolated incident. And I can only speak in terms of my experience.
Mhm.
It's been one of those things to where it's kind of like a buildup. So it's not just one thing. It to me, it's always been a pattern, a different thing. So you've got someone that may display some behavioral issues going on within the workplace. One really good example that I could think of throughout the duration of my career is someone that may have an issue explaining an unexplained affluence. They just so happen to come into a bunch of money
Mm.
and they are in at a certain pay scale. And then you kind of got this windfall of money that just comes out of nowhere. They're buying lavish things, um, that in conjunction with someone that may be trying to access a database or systems that they don't have any business trying to access. Um, a lot of times putting in or trying to gain access to a system and they're putting in these passwords and just not getting through. One of the big ones back in the day when I was downrange in Afghanistan was someone that would be working inside of a sensitive compartmented information facility, a SCIF, and they're printing out a copious amount of content off of the system.
Yeah.
You just got a boatload of stuff just to being printed off, and you're like, okay, so what are they doing with it? And sometimes it's just innocent. But then
Yeah.
oftentimes, again, it goes back to the thing of it being a pattern. One day you're doing this, you probably wait another week to print out a little bit more.
Mm.
I kind of think of it kind of like a pig's breakfast. And I hate to use that analogy because I am a Southern girl. Um, you get a little bit of this and you get a little bit of that.
Yeah.
and it just grows into a pattern. So just being cognizant and just seeing if it's something that's going to continue to go on for a little bit. And so how early it starts and how long it continues to go until you can really pick up to figure out what's going on.
I'm just curious. I mean, it is are ins how do you compare, noticing and picking up insider threats versus external threats? How it's I mean, you talk about patterns internally. Do those take longer to develop? Is you inherently kind of trust someone inside, so you're more focused outside? We're outside, so I'm very um, curious about inside.
For me, on the insider, it's something that for me, it's not easy to pick up on.
Mm.
You have to have a good, keen eye on, for me, reporting. Um, when it comes to the clearance side of the house. Of course, you've got program managers that manage the programs for these people that work on the classified side. And then, of course, you've got the industrial side where we manage the clearances, make sure people are doing what they're supposed to do by reporting. Um, have you guys heard of the continuous evaluation or the continuous vetting program within the DoD? It's also referred to as the RAP back program, where it's kind of like you've got cleared people, and every so many years for us. So back in the day when you would have a secret clearance, we would reevaluate you every 10 years.
Mhm.
Now with the continuous vetting program, everyone has to submit a standard form 86 questionnaire every 5 years, regardless of what level of clearance that they hold. So for us,
Yeah.
we pay very close attention to these updates that people have to do
Okay.
on these SF-86s, and oftentimes they're within the time frame where they have to do them every 5 years. So we know that they did it 5 years prior.
Yeah.
They know now that they've got to do it 5 years later, and so now we're at that point. Or in this instance, when it comes to really kind of keen in to knowing what's going on, stressing the importance of people knowing that they have to self-report. So
Yeah.
even if you re-certified or provided an updated SF-86 6 months ago or a year ago, if you've got a big event and it's a reportable incident,
Yeah.
you've got to report it.
You have to say it. Yeah.
And I've been pretty good at educating the masses and keeping them informed. Like every Friday, I send out an email letting people know what's going on in terms of news as it refers to clearances and their responsibilities, or just anything in general that would make someone kind of second guess. Okay, well, should I do this? Um, Knowing that, it could jeopardize your standing and for you to continue to keep your eligibility. So again, me kind of meandering a bit, um, just ensuring people know the importance of self-reporting
Mm.
their responsibilities as a clearance holder. And we as practitioners know what to look for if
Yeah.
things are not gelling. So you got the SF-86 reporting side, and then of course with the assistance of the program managers or the people that sit inside of these organizations that could assist us with, of course, notifying us if there's an issue. Um,
Yeah.
or, again, if it's something that we see on our end that they have to be notified on the inside of. So it's a collaborative effort there.
Well, this is actually a very good segue because and I think what our listeners want to hear a little bit about is that actual security clearance, that system, that the way that happens. So, what is the clearance process, and what is the clearance process that was actually designed? Like what is it designed to assess so that you're getting what you need, and we're very familiar with SF-86, like we totally
Mhm.
understand that. But
Yep.
for our listeners brand new to this, don't get it, like walk us through a little bit about how each of these types of clearances would work.
Okay. So I'll speak about it from the DoD side because
Okay.
I do have an affiliation with the intel agencies, and that's a whole separate process. But you provide an SF-86. I have people come to me all the time. Well, how do I get a clearance? You have to be sponsored.
Yeah.
You have to have a company that has a facility clearance that has classified work that you're going to be assigned to. You're going to have to provide a standard form SF-86,
Mhm.
and they don't expect for you to be perfect. I went into it the first time I did it. It took me 14 hours because I didn't know what I was doing. I was providing stuff that it didn't really have any bearing on anything. They're going in to assess whether you are trustworthy, and can you be trusted with managing classified information and keeping it safe?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
very so what do you think most people get wrong about that security clearance? Do you think they just get it wrong? Like you just said, it took you 14 hours. That document is very intense. Yeah.
You on the outside going in to apply for a clearance, and then, once you do it and you get it, and then you transition to that part of becoming a background investigator and you're looking at it.
Yeah.
I think what people tend to forget about that process is that, again, we don't expect for you to be perfect. We expect for people to be honest.
Mm. Right.
We expect people to be trustworthy. Um, can you keep a secret? We don't need you spilling secrets. There's a way for you to assist out with that, doing it the right way. But
Right.
I mean, yeah, can you be trusted? Is there anything in your background that could lead you to be susceptible to blackmail?
Yeah.
Will you give information in exchange for this?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but also keeping in mind that we as adjudicators look at the whole person concept.
Oh, good.
So true. Yeah, because a lot of people think, okay, well, I've done this and
Yeah.
I've done that, and
Yeah.
I got behind on a credit card payment, or people too that file for bankruptcy. Again, we look at the whole person concept. Um, Things happen, lives,
Yeah.
and you have people that have been laid off, or may have been out of work for a little bit and may have gotten behind in bills. They're not the first and they're not going to be the last. In terms of like that and debt, how are you managing it?
Yeah.
What are you going to do in the future to avoid getting back in that same position?
Right. Right. No, and I think it's really, I mean, it's just all about being honest. Like just be honest. Just say it.
Be
If you
honest.
actually say,
Yeah.
because I think what people don't realize is that if you actually say when they're asking you the question for something like this and they're asking you those questions, and if you're honest about it, if you really try to lie about it, you're going to spend more time trying to hide the lie and deal with that, and that's just going to affect everything else you're working on
Yeah.
because you just haven't told the truth upfront. So, it's people think, it will be a strike against them, but no, it's like what you're saying. Okay, well then let's look at the whole picture. Let's look at the whole person. Let's look at the whole thing. What were the circumstances? How did it get like this? You know?
It is nothing like, and I would tell you one of the most, I'm trying to find the proper adjective
It's
here.
okay.
The most aggravating
Mhm.
things for me as a former background investigator is that, like, you, over a period of time of you interviewing subjects,
Mhm.
you kind of know when they're not being truthful because
Yeah.
earlier on, something may have come up during the course of the investigation that
Mm.
I would have to meet with them on, that could have been discussed during the initial meeting. So
Yeah.
when you keep having to go back out to meet with them to discuss
Okay.
something that came up that was developed during the course of the investigation, and and then you got more than one person saying it, and so we've got to substantiate it some way, and they're just not being truthful. It's the most aggravating. Something that could have just been easily avoided. Hey, yeah, I did it. Um, and of course, we ask you, what can you have done differently? What will you
Yeah.
do differently going forward? Because again, it's about if we could trust you to handle and protect our classified
Information.
information. If it
Right.
gets out into the wrong hands, it could cause grave danger or it can cause severely grave danger. And again, we're here for the mission. We're here to protect, our assets. And I think people too tend to forget that I've always viewed people within these government organizations that have clearances. These are your assets. These are people that go into these facilities every day. They're doing these jobs. They've got access to these materials. And then, they like to travel, go to Italy. They like to go to France. And, these are people that are considered our assets
Yeah.
because they know they have a breadth of knowledge and they know a lot about what's going on in these organizations.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah,
I'd say, you
that's
know what? I
all.
think that kind of is a another nice little segue, um, because you've moved into like more private sector work, right? We talked a lot about SF-86. Um, what do how does it differ from the corporate side? I'm sure you're using a lot of the same skills, but um, you know, how do you translate the national security implications of what you did before to corporate now?
I think the biggest difference for me right now on the corporate side, so you're working these missions. So you're actively involved every day in the day-to-day management of these missions. Whether it be ISR, anything. Transition that over to the corporate side on the industrial security side. For me, it's more of educating. So educating people about, of course, what I know, and what is needed to continue to maintain the organization that you are a part of. And I think a lot of people tend to forget that when it comes to industrial security, um, we have a facility clearance. Each government contractor that wants to do business with the federal government, and this involves them supporting a classified effort. Um, if your facility clearance for your company is not in good standing, that could derail the entire operation. So it doesn't matter if you've got 100 classified contracts that you've got people working on these efforts. If the facility clearance is not in good standing,
Yeah.
you could just kiss it bye bye. And so with that being said, in order to keep that facility clearance in good standing, we as facility security officers must ensure that we are, for one, um, educating our personnel. You want to make people know and aware of their responsibilities as being a clearance holder.
Mm.
That comes in the form of us issuing our training each year. There's several modules that I hand out a yearly. We start each year with operation security. And then we transition to annual security refresher training, which is a compilation of, everything on the SF-86, foreign travel,
Yeah.
reporting any foreign relatives, foreign bank accounts, um, whether or not if you've had any issues with drug or alcohol. Do you have you got a DUI or DWI recently? Are you going to mental health counseling? So these are it's a compilation of different topics combined into one. And then of course the rollout of the CUI management that technically in a sense replaced FOUO. for official use only. I know within the Intel arena, they're still kind of using the FOUO. And then of course insider threat training, insider threat awareness training each year. So again, it goes back to educating the masses of their responsibilities as a clearance holder of what they are expected to do in order to maintain that eligibility.
Is there anything in that you've seen that corporate leaders should be thinking about that causes you to pull your hair out at night? And do they have any, where are their blind spots? Like, gosh, why isn't my client not taking my recommendation? Or whatever the case may be. We all have those.
We do, we do. I think honestly, what keeps me up at night, I think now because I was a little with it, with the advancements of AI. I look at AI kind of like a polygraph in a sense, and again, that's a very bad analogy to some people. Like a polygraph, it's a tool. It's a tool, and it works well when it wants to work well, and it makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and um, also too for me, um, in terms of my experience, your social media hygiene. What are
Mhm.
you posting on social media as a clearance holder? LinkedIn gives me the heebie-jeebies. It works well for networking, but again, that to me has always been a breeding ground for these, actors in these foreign countries that may be looking to try to get information from people that have a certain level of access.
Right.
So again, educating people and our executive directors, all of our leaders within the organization of the importance of, you know, we've got this position that we need to hire for. So how much information are you going to put,
Mhm.
on the website or wherever it is available for people to see? Um, because there have been situations where, um, if a position requires a certain amount of access or clearance, or even if it states a polygraph, um, we've got to be careful how we word that, even though that's a requirement for the position. But things that we post on social media sites that people could access, um, to try to go to people with that type of access based on their profile of what they've got written on these sites, we've got to be a little careful about that.
So you can give away a lot. There's a lot that can be given away, and that's interesting that you're talking about, what somebody would post as a job posting and what they're looking for, and I didn't even think about that.
And it can be so innocent.
Right, you're just like, "Well, yes, we're gonna need you to have clearance for this and be able to do this and
Yeah,
understand, classify this," and that's the breeding ground for someone to be like, "Great, this is the person that they're looking to hire."
yeah.
A, do we send somebody, right?
Just put a
Hmm.
target on their back too.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, you got people from these foreign countries, no shade to India, India,
mhm,
Pakistan, places that we deem to be, areas that we probably had conflict before, or the ones that we would consider to be, I don't want to say a threat country, but those are what they used to identify them back in the day, like at the bureau,
mhm,
uh, folks traveling to like threat countries and um yeah, so like people with a certain level of access that
mhm.
are going traveling to certain places that could be considered hostile. Um yeah, like foreign travel briefings, making sure that they're aware. But for me, it's always been the importance of them knowing what they should and should not be posting on social media.
That's a
But for me, LinkedIn has always been the one that has just kept me kind of like it's worked well for me and for a lot of people for networking. But again, we have had those situations throughout the duration of my career where that has been kind of like a breeding ground for these unknown actors or these bad actors to come in to try to make friends or try to link up with you because, hey, yeah, they see you working here
Mhm.
and you could probably be very beneficial to them. And
Right.
they continue to go on to establish this rapport with you or try to develop that rapport with you to see what kind of information that they can get out of you. And it kind of goes back to like at my time at the bureau, kind of just learning a little bit about Robert Hansen and that gradual progression of him selling secrets to Russia. You know, it's but again, back during that time they didn't have LinkedIn. So
Yeah. And they were finding that information out elsewhere. That, l listen, I'm sitting here looking at I'm glancing at the script we have, but I just feel like this conversation is a lot more interesting than some of the other questions I would have for you. Um,
mhm,
well, only because listen, I mean, that's a very big concern, and I say that because we're also I mean, like, as adults and everything, I mean, we all whether the Instagram, the LinkedIn, the whatever, the Twitter, all of it, and we're using it, and yet we're saying to our kids, "Hey, be careful what you put out there." And then the first thing we do is brag about what we're working on and what we're doing, you know? I mean, PJ and I don't do so much. I mean, there are a lot of times we just sort of hint at it, and if you know, you know kind of thing.
mhm.
But we are very, we're very cognizant of that. And then when we're working on projects, we actually just tell our entire staff, like, just don't go on social media. Like, this is not, we're working on a project. You don't go on social media. You don't post anything. Don't tell them that you're flying to that city because
Nope.
people aren't dumb. Like, they will figure it out. If they want to figure it out, they're going to figure it out and they can track this and figure out what is going on.
Well,
Um,
whether it's intel on you,
yeah.
trying to get intel out of you. Anna and I don't know if you looked at our background. We've done some fairly high level work,
Mhm.
um, and we've had teams tagging us, so we let other people know, or just say, "Oh, he's out of town. Let's go rob him."
Yeah. Well, that too.
And that was going to be another point too. Um, you know, yes, we're excited about going on vacation to Aruba. Yes, we're excited about going on vacation to Japan.
Yeah.
But you don't want to go on Instagram. You don't want to go on TikTok
Mhm.
and let people know that you're sitting in the airport waiting on your flight to get there or waiting on the plane to come pick you up to take you on your trip to Japan.
Yeah.
Someone to come inside of your house to rob you while you're away on vacation
Mhm.
to see what they can find,
Yeah.
or to have someone meet you where
Yeah.
you say that you want to be. They
Mhm.
try to befriend you to see what information that they can extract out of you. And a lot of these projects and things that we work on are very exciting. It's very interesting. But if you don't have, if they don't have a need to know, even if people have the clearance
Yeah.
level to access that, but they don't have a need to know, you don't need to share that. That is not for everyone's consumption. You keep what you do at work, and that's that. But we it's yeah.
So
Oh,
you brought up AI.
yeah,
What
yes.
um what what role as keeping you up at night? But what role do you see IA making as far as predictive modeling or anything um, that pattern recognition? You're big on patterns. Do you see a role for AI as it improves?
It improves, yes. But my concern is with the just heavily relying on AI, you can't remove the human factor.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can't take people away and replace them with AI to help you manage or assess a threat. You're going to need the people there to assist you with that. Because again, AI makes mistakes, and I'm sure over time, as it gets better and better, mistakes will probably be few and far in between. But for me, removing the whole human factor to replace it with I don't think that that's going to be effective.
No. Mm-mm.
No.
Yeah. I
Mm-mm.
think I think we're just setting ourselves. I mean, we're setting ourselves up as it is to watch these Whammo cars ride around. I think that's what they're called. I don't know. Those
And I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and so I like my way outside of going to the movies on the weekend to decompress is going on Instagram and just getting a good laugh. Um, those Waymo, and then they having floods in Atlanta too, and they're just sitting and just. I'm just like, and I get it. You want to kind of get people to kind of go into the whole mindset of advancement. But if it's just not working, it's just not working. Unplug it and plug it back in. You know.
put it back in the garage and just
Yeah.
let it sit for a little while. No, I 100% get that. That's
I love AI. I love it. Can it be better? Yeah. And I'm sure over time it will get better.
right.
But taking away the human factor to aid in the assessment, you know, of that, or for them to help determine if you've got a real issue on your hands, you can't do that without the people.
Correct.
And I'm afraid that, with the more advancements that we have within AI, that
Mhm.
you're going to start seeing more of that, and then you're taking people out of jobs
Yeah.
where you need the actual humans, you need the people to assist with that.
We've talked to a couple of companies, actually had somebody on our show that they're doing the security vehicles that have, the opportunity to like roam around without a driver, and just sort of assist with like that 24-hour protection in a neighborhood or, at an event or something like that. And I mean, and it came up. We were just like, well, what happens if something goes wrong? And they go, oh, well, someone's monitoring it. There is a human monitoring it, from, you know, behind the curtain.
Can't take away the human element.
Much
They're
like the
they're they're
robot dogs at Mar-a-Lago.
But
yeah.
Hey, wasn't
They're
going.
there.
They are? Know that. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, they have like 1 or 2 that patrol while he's gone, and sometimes when he's there. They've been in testing for a while, and apparently they're super successful. They can detect like all kinds of different things, but they are very tightly controlled,
Well, no.
and they don't bark
And
at
here's the hot,
at night.
so how are they getting the data? So are they wearing like kind of like a
Oh
GPS
yeah,
type of thing?
they've got. I don't. Obviously, it's probably because it's service and everybody else.
Right.
Um, that uh, they've got sniffers, they've got infrared, they've got night vision, and they are monitored for threats and video, just so they do take the place of people, especially for uh, let's say a time strapped, a personnel strapped
Hmm.
agency. If they can't put up, I mean, it's like a lot of places in the government, everyone's stretched pretty thin.
Yeah.
This episode of Managing Your Perimeter is brought to you by First Fence, the experts in keeping what matters most protected. Whether it's a temporary fence for your next big event or a permanent solution for your business, First Fence delivers with speed, precision, and peace of mind. Trusted by pros in construction, events, and beyond, they've got safety down to a science. Need a fence? Get it done right the first time at firstfence.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, and within it too. Yeah, on it within us with getting people cleared in a timely fashion. This period right now, we're getting people in. I remember again 5, 6, 7 years ago, you could get people in on an interim clearance, and I mean for an interim secret in like 7 days. It's taking a little bit longer because you just don't have the manpower. You've got more cases than you have people to work on. And so are they going to defer to AI to help screen and make these determinations? Because you've got the whole risk management side of the DoD that will go in to screen these SF-86 forms to determine if anyone or that candidate in question that you're looking at, would they be eligible to go in on an interim clearance to start working?
Mm.
Um, what role? So how far are we gonna go? But I honestly cannot see the permanent removal of just getting rid of the people that have that knowledge base that an AI tool may not have just yet. And then you got the experience as a human.
Yeah.
So, why would we put all of our trust, you
Yeah.
know, into a machine? Oh yeah, because it's a machine.
Yeah. And a machine.
Machine.
Right.
Yeah. But then too, you got people that go in here and then apply for clearance and for whatever reason can't get clear.
Yeah.
And so um and it kind of also ties into like the polygraph side. We've got a big, you know, community of people that it's very difficult to get a polygraph.
Mm.
It's not easy, So how are you going to replace the people? And in conjunction with that, you've got people retiring.
Yeah.
So you got to bring in this whole new workforce of people to get in, and hopefully that they'll be able to get through the process of getting cleared and take their role. But
That's a lot.
it's going to be interesting.
Well, listen, you clearly are the right person for this. And you definitely have shared, and I mean, and I really hope we didn't gloss over too much for our listeners in terms of, because again, we understand what you're talking about. We know the conversation is going. I hope that provided enough for our listener to be able to understand. We tend to use a lot of acronyms out there. And maybe we will actually put up a little cheat sheet when we run this episode, because we know what they are, and so when we're listening to you talk, we're like, oh yeah, we get it, we got that. But
Right.
just as sort of a closing comment here, and we talked about sort of insider risk and things like that. What does strong leadership look like when it comes to managing sort of the insider risk of all of this? Like, what do you think that looks like?
You have got to have the support of, for one, your executives in your organization. So your CEO, your presidents, COOs, all of your C-suite folks,
Mm.
um, working together
Yeah.
with us directors, with the assistance of people that work in these adjacent um, offices or sections within your organization. So we talk about the insider threat. The insider threat is not just security based. We're the reporters. We're not the adjudicators. We're just here gathering information. We're kind of like a watchdog in a sense.
Yeah.
But we also need the assistance of our IT personnel,
Mhm.
assistance of our HR people. We need the assistance of our people in legal.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
need the assistance of your people in contracts.
Mhm.
Developing or having a good relationship with the program managers for these efforts that you support.
Mhm.
Because again, we can't see everything, but we always try to foster an environment for people to feel comfortable coming to us to speak with us if they have a concern or if there's anything that they report. We don't want to be the boogeyman.
Yeah.
Security is one of these sections when it deals with insider threat, where people are kind of like, oh, yeah, we're kind of hands off. We don't want to deal with them, but we play a very critical role within any organization when it comes to spotting or keeping people aware of what to look out for, or someone within the organization that may be doing something that they have no business doing.
Yeah.
Um, and ensuring that you're following the proper procedure and the protocol there to make, of course, your executives aware, but also being truthful and candid with your customer in that too with our cognizant security authority, which for us it would be the Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency. Um, added that with a few other agencies that we support. But you've got to have the support and the assistance of everyone within the organization, especially your C-suite folks that are there trying to ensure that the lights are kept on, people are fed, people are paid. It is a collective effort. You've got to come together to work as a team to assess any type of risk that may be an issue that could affect your entire organization. We don't like to get hacked,
Yeah.
but again, we have to keep a lookout for everyone. We expect for people that work alongside us to alert us of any issues. Because again, there are times where we just not going to know everything. So we rely heavily on our coworkers and our colleagues to assist us.
I give you right. That's right. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Listen, this has been absolutely fascinating. I'm such a pleasure to meet you. I'm so happy
Wow.
we finally got to have you on the show. Um,
Yeah, that was great.
this has really, really been insightful. And I mean, like I said, for PJ and I, we're like, yep, we know what you're talking about. We know what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
but so where can our listeners find you? How do they stay connected to you? And I know we just talked about LinkedIn, but where do you want them to find you?
Yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm very selective because I get messages all the time from people trying to sell me stuff, and I'm like, yeah, we're doing. But no, I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm not on it as often
Right.
as I would like, but yeah, that is a good place to link up with me
Perfect.
on LinkedIn.
Perfect. We will make sure that we throw that in the notes, and we'll make sure that we throw that up as sort of on the page when we list this. But I really want to thank you very much for your time and for joining
Thank
us.
you.
I honestly think that what I'm walking away with this is what I've always known about anything that you're trying to do when you're filling out, listen, any application or anything, and definitely when you're doing security clearance. I mean, if you're not honest, you're gonna find out. They're gonna find out. So, be honest with it, and they'll allow you to have the conversations about it. I mean, like you said, you might see something, but it happened 30 years ago. Explain it to me. What is that? What happened? What
I
was it?
will tell you this before we conclude,
Yeah.
and this will probably be the most honest that I could get to you. And I'm taking this from me personally as an individual, but also as a practitioner. Um, when you're filling out the SF-86, yes, your first time is very daunting. You just don't know what to expect. Um, but also keep in mind that um to you, it may look bad. And even as us investigators, and then when it goes over to the adjudication side, once you really get the background of what happened during a specific time of your life to where it's something that you're very, you know, concerned about, you're embarrassed about,
Right.
um, for us looking at it, it looked bad on paper as an investigator or an adjudicator.
Yeah.
But once you get the story behind that situation, it kind of eases it off a little bit to where your mind kind of goes from, oh well, yeah, this looks awful, um, into after you speak with the individual for them to further explain.
Got it.
And that's your opportunity to give us any and everything that is pertinent to that
Yep.
issue that we have to resolve. We like to get it that first time. So it is imperative um throughout your career as a clearance holder, even if you don't know if you're gonna need a clearance, to
Right.
always operate in the highest level of integrity in terms of your life and what you do. We're not perfect. We don't expect people to be perfect.
Mhm.
but we expect for people to come into these positions, do the right thing, know their responsibilities as a clearance holder, um, for them to continue to keep it. Because oftentimes people tend to think that they have an obligation, or they feel, well, I deserve to get a clearance.
Yeah.
And it's more of a privilege than a right.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, it's difficult to get in a sense, depending on your background, but it's very easy to lose if you don't do what you're supposed to do as a cleared individual.
Exactly.
And that's where a lot of people tend to forget. Um, and we don't like people that keep secrets. We don't like people that have an issue go on in their life and they feel as if, oh, well, yeah, that's not important enough for me to report it.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to the continuous vetting side of it. Um, you have to continue to keep us aware of any changes that go on, whether you get married or you get divorced,
Right.
or you decide to get a bank account in a foreign country.
Yeah.
That's your responsibility as a clearance holder to let us know that. Um, so that's just something that I would just like to put out.
No, but listen, what you just came full circle to is that's the human side of it. That's the
Yeah,
human that's the human side of it, and that's the part
you
that
don't
we
side of it.
that's still very necessary.
Yep.
So I just thank you again for your time. It's been an
Thank
absolute
you.
pleasure meeting you. To our
Thank
listeners,
you.
listen, if you found any of this valuable, like we say after the end of this, just either share this podcast with someone, write in a question. If you want to send us the questions, we always get your questions. We look through everything. We look through all your comments and everything. You will find us, the Managing Your Perimeter, on your favorite podcast or at arcusgrp.com. Until the next time, thank you again for your time, Dr. Parker. It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. PJ, good luck out there. I know that's going to be a very fun event for you to be involved with. And as I say to everybody, please stay safe out there, and we will see you next time. Thank you.